The Viking speaks to you about the Ring Cycle by that man Wagner. Wagner, as you may or may not know, was one of the most influential people in all of Western civilization. There's more written about him than anyone except for that man Jesus. You've heard of him. So he was a big, important person, rather repugnant, but influential nevertheless. Anyway, the Ring Cycle. Now, for a pianist, well, for anybody involved, it is the big mamma jamma assignment. Okay, it's as if someone said, now, Thomas, go over to your music shelves, pick out 5 of the hardest operas or 6 of the hardest operas, come over here. Okay, now we're going away for 2 months. I'm putting a gun to your head, and you have to be able to play any scene, coach any scene from any of these at any point. It's very difficult. It's not that hard to play. I mean, Strauss is a little harder to play than Wagner, if you ask me, but it's extremely hard to learn. The operas get more and more complex as they go on, and more exciting. It's just so thrilling. How did I get into Wagner? Because I'm a huge Wagnerite. I made my Bayreuth pilgrimage 2 summers ago. I'll tell you about that in another session. Anyway, it was fantastic. First things first. Okay, so my oldest brother was in the Marines twice, actually, and in the Army. I digress. He came back from Japan with a VHS player. I had never seen such a thing. I didn't even know what they were. And amongst the tapes that he had was Excalibur. Now, have you ever seen that movie? It's fantastic. But they play tons of Wagner in it. It's so thrilling. All the good bits, Parsifal, Tristan, parts of the Ring. I was just hooked. Okay, so then when I came to New York, one of the first times I ever went to Carnegie Hall was to hear the very first concert that the Met Orchestra did with James Levine. I was given a seat for like 5th row or something. Jesse Norman sang the Immolation scene, which is the last scene of the Ring Cycle. I was forevermore hooked. There's no looking back. Occasionally I'll say, okay, these operas are too long. I can't. But most of the time it's extraordinary. Anyway, this is the 3rd Ring Cycle I've worked on. It gets easier, I have found now, with my 3rd, or maybe my 4th will be easier. But it's still a huge assignment. And I am fascinated with every element. Well, not every element. A lot of people, well, anyway, I'm really fascinated with the language part of it. Well, first of all, the plot is based on every Scandinavian saga that he could find, and poured them all into a blender, rolled it out onto the cutting board, made shapes out of it, baked it, and said, okay, how am I going to turn this into an opera? So anyway, he did. His versions of these stories, to me, are much more interesting and more dramatic. You see, he was a theatrical man than the originals. I mean, maybe if you speak Icelandic, which I don't yet. Anyway, so his language, his use of the German language, you don't even have to know any German at all to appreciate the sounds of what he did in the Ring Cycle. He didn't really do it in his other operas, but Stabreim is called. It's the use of alliteration, alliterative poetry, because it's an imitation of these old sagas, which are written with alliteration. The very first poems in English language, the earliest versions of the English language, it's all alliteration. So you just get hooked on these repetitive consonant clusters and archaic sounding words, and it's just so fascinating. He keeps you interested that way. Except when you just have to fall asleep. And it's going to happen. For me, there's 2 places in Valkyrie. Act 2, when Wotan starts talking and it's quiet and it's 25 minutes long. Jesus, I need a nap. Towards the end of Valkyrie Act 3, I'm going to go to sleep. You could be Meryl Streep on this. I'll see you when it gets loud again. Anyway, it's a lot of fun to play. I am so thrilled to be doing this again at the Kennedy Center. We have a great cast. We have great covers. Hi, y'all. There's going to be more of me talking about the Ring when I get my thoughts all together, okay? Because I got some interesting stories. Be talking to y'all later. Ring Cycle, ho-ya-da-ho!